Hello and welcome to Skeptarchy. My name is Kevin, and with me I have
Dell
and Corey.
And so there. I wasn't here last week, and of course I didn't bother to listen to the podcast because why would I do that? So how'd you all get along last time? I shouldn't say last week because it's a bi-weekly, but details.
Bi-weekly, right? I mean, it was good. My roommate told me that I talked most of the time, but she didn't seem to think that was a bad thing. So
I mean, I wouldn't say you talk most of the time normally, but when you're talking, you usually say good shit. So
yeah. So I brought a topic, so that's good, and brought a topic again today. So I'm really doing my homework for this.
Hey, you are way ahead of the rest of us.
Seriously.
And by homework, I mean like 30 to 40 minutes of reading or listening to something. In this case, It was mostly a YouTube video this time, which is a very credible source of news, but I have followed it up with verifying that it's real information.
Well, at least you verified it.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I don't know. Did the rest of you bring topics?
I got
today,
nothing.
or are you just gonna?
Well, I mean, given that on the day we're recording, it's more or less breaking news, and that is that it looks like the Senate has actually announced that Congress has reached an agreement on the second COVID relief bill. So it's not going to be quite as nice as the first one. Basically, everything is halved from last time. So the original CARES Act gave $1,200 payments and $600 a week jobless benefits. This one's going to be doing $600 direct payments and $300 a week jobless benefits. The benefits will also only last 10 weeks instead of the previous 16, and the $600 direct payments will still begin to phase out after $75,000 like last time. So, it's about half as good.
I read that the Republicans didn't get that liability waiver in there. That got left out, which was a big deal.
Yeah, actually,
I don't know, Corey, if you're up on
not...
that. So basically, the Republicans and the businesses have been pushing for a waiver to be like, no results of COVID. The business can never be held liable for them, particularly for employees. I'm not sure if it applied to patrons, but even if they were not following CDC recommendations, the businesses would be completely exempted from liability for the COVID issues. And the Republicans were really pushing for that. So there was a lot of discourse that I saw about, is it worth it to get $600 if we also give that up? Because that's a really big deal. And it sets a terrible precedent for the future. But
you don't want
that's what I saw
businesses.
shortly before recording. So
you don't want businesses to be able to let everybody get sick and die with impunity.
Right? Well, I mean, which is basically what Trump's whole move was with the Defense Act, activating it for the meatpacking plants way back when. That was basically sort of his deal is, I'll shield you from the consequences.
Yeah, so based on what I can see, the reason this is actually getting done is because there was a mutual agreement to drop a couple of the critical priorities. So Democrats have been pushing for direct funds to state and local governments, and Republicans were demanding sweeping liability protections for businesses, hospitals, etc. It looks like both of those got dropped in order to actually get the bill to pass.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure that's not great, but I was pretty worried about the liability thing, so I'm very glad that's not there.
Indeed.
So how much is the stimulus?
So the overall stimulus is $900 billion, but it's being put into the it's being combined with the 1.4 trillion omnibus, which is just the bill that essentially keeps the rest of the government running.
Oh, yeah, because we were actually within a week of government shutdown if we didn't pass a budget, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we always seem to be operating like that these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, the government was set to run out of funding 2 weeks before the next Congress was to convene on January 3rd. So basically in a couple of days.
Yeah.
Actually, no, 2 weeks would have been today. So
who needs to plan ahead? Not the government.
Not the government, right? Surely. It's not like anybody depends on them.
No, not at all.
It's not like they have known about this deadline for literally years, you know.
Yeah. I mean, since the last omnibus bill was passed, so
it's great. Working really well.
Both chambers apparently had to approve a one-day stopgap spending bill just so that they could have the time to put together this gigantic omnibus package. So yeah, in this one bill, they are passing $2.3 trillion worth of funding. And my God. Like, it sounds like a ton.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, I mean, $600 is something, I guess.
Indeed.
I just signed up on last Friday. My local farm service agency called me because a couple of the ladies that work there know me. And they were like, you haven't signed up for like a bunch of money from the government yet, right? And I was like, I think I got an email. And they emailed me some stuff that I can sign online, which they used to be a huge pain about, which really sucked when I was working 2 jobs because they wouldn't even let me do it I drove past an FSA office every day to get to work, but it wasn't the county where I lived in's FSA office. Oh. So that's like on the other side of town. And so between the job and milking, it's like, how do you get there in government hours? But now they let you email stuff because of the pandemic. So they emailed me forms and I signed them. So someday I will get a $3,000 check from the government for all the harm to agriculture during COVID. So I personally don't think I lost much money to COVID. I mean, milk prices were pretty shit in the spring when the schools shut down because the school is such a big source of milk. But now in the fall, we've had the best milk prices we've had in years. Of course, the best milk price we've had in years means literally the first time we've had a break-even milk price in years because Trump's trade deals were such a shit show.
Yeah.
So, like, he owes it to me anyway, even though it wasn't technically from the pandemic. You know? Because, well, actually, I think most of this is going to be the trade relief aid, if I remember right. Because there was some trade relief stuff, too, in there that's been ongoing. I don't know. Anyway, I'll take it, and I will spend it immediately on hay and straw for the cows.
There you go.
So that means a lot more to me than the $600, I guess, but...
Right, eh? It actually keeps your farm running, which I suppose is kind of the point.
Yeah, I did the math like 2 years ago, just on like if milk prices hadn't tanked when Trump torpedoed all our trade deals. And it was something like, and I have like a very small farm. It was something like $75,000 that he'd cost me, which mostly went into credit cards and debt of other kinds. Which now that I've had 2 jobs for a while, I got caught up on those, and then I got a COVID loan from the government, just to like a low interest COVID loan. And so that helped me pay off the rest of the credit cards and keep the cows fed through the fall. And it's a 30-year term. So I pay like $100 a month for the next 30 years of my life to the government, apparently, for this. So I'll take it. It's way better than anything a bank would give me. So
yeah.
Because I don't have any like payroll employees, so I wasn't eligible for like the PPP loans, but there was because the PPP loans get forgiven. Businesses that got those for the Paycheck Protection Program, you could get them if your business made money in the last year, even if you didn't have employees. But I have not made a profit because of Trump's trade mess. You could get them for like certain things. It wasn't just payroll. It was like payroll and it was utilities and like something else. And then you could get the loan and then it would be forgiven. So I wasn't eligible for like forgiven stuff. I was just eligible for a low interest loan of some kind. But oh well, I guess. Would have been nice to get free money, but Trump torpedoed my business 3 years ago. So now I'm not eligible for that.
Yeah, that's
it's okay when the government does it.
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of and they had to pass a special law to even let farms be included in that, because I guess the Small Business Administration is not actually allowed to do business with farms normally, because they're supposed to leave all that to, because normally the Small Business Administration it's through like a disaster relief fund, and the Department of Agriculture handles all the disaster relief for farms. So they were trying to prevent you from double dipping, and the SBA is not allowed to do business with farms. Whereas, you're supposed to get your help from the USDA, but the USDA wasn't giving any help to farms at that point, right? So we didn't even know if any farms were going to be eligible for the help for a while, for the PPP loans and stuff. But they figured it out. Well, I think Congress said, well, we meant to include them, so just give them the money, even though the law says you can't, or something like that. And hopefully they cleared that up, legally speaking, later.
Hopefully, yeah. I guess we'll find out.
It's great when your Congress people are just like, oh, did we make it illegal for you to get help? Oops.
Yeah.
Try anyway. And you're like, but wouldn't that be illegal for me to get the money from you?
Yeah.
But you
When they
pinky
decide,
swear you didn't mean for it to be illegal? I don't know. Really obnoxious, though.
You find out you're being charged with fraud. And
right? God, have you guys seen the stories about, the churches and the buying private jets with the PPP loan money?
No.
No, but I don't doubt it.
Well, here's what I wonder about that. So, multiple of those terrible cable TV pastors, right, that are billionaires, they went out and bought private jets a week after getting their PPP money and stuff. They got $100 million in PPP money and then went and bought a $40 million jet. And so everyone's like, when are these people going to be prosecuted with fraud? But I don't think that's even fraud, though, because they were supposed to use that to pay their paychecks, which is fine, but that still means that they had $100 million to spend on other things, not paychecks. It all goes into the same. I don't understand how they ever prove fraud in a case like that. As long as they actually did pay the employees.
Yeah.
Money is still money.
It's not like church, books are open. Nobody's looking at them.
Well, that's the particular problem with the churches is how would you ever even see, right? But even if they could, I guess I don't understand how you can get them on fraud. If somebody gives me $1,000 and says, only spend this on hay for your cows, that's great. I'm definitely going to spend it on hay for my cows. But that also is $1,000 that I didn't have to spend on hay for my cows that I will now spend on something else.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is what I'm saying making sense? So if you give me $1,000 and I buy $1,000 of hay for my cows and $1,000 of wine, they're all from the same bank account. How did you?
There's no way
you know what I'm saying
prove
here?
that this was the $1,000 that you spent on hay versus the 1,000. Yeah, as long as you spent $1,000 on the hay, then you're good.
Right, as long as you actually buy the thing you said you were going to buy. So as long as those churches actually paid their employees that month, right?
Yep.
I don't think there's any fraud there, legally speaking. Yeah. I mean, it's a terrible thing to do, but that's why you shouldn't give churches $40 million. Because you are funding the church. They had a whole Supreme Court case about this, right? With the playground. I forget what that was about. It was the playground.
That's the one secularism lost, though, right?
Correct. Right. The Supreme Court said by excluding the church from the playground funds, the playground was a secular activity, so you had to pay the church for their playground. Of course, if you give the church money for the playground they were already going to build, that's just more money they have for churchy things, right? Even though the playground wasn't a churchy thing. But yes, secularism lost that one. So
yeah.
But,
secularism loses a lot lately.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm. So what's happening in Canada, Corey? Anything politically thrilling? How's COVID there?
It's still here. we just got almost 2,000 vaccines in Saskatchewan this week, so
that's something. Yeah.
That's good.
I just had my my second injection of the study product for the COVID vaccine study I'm in, which weirdly enough, like I thought the numbers had come out for it, but apparently the AstraZeneca vaccine has still not been approved by the FDA, which I thought was odd. But like 5 others have already been approved.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
maybe
thought I
yours
heard
is
that.
a dud.
I mean, from what I heard, like the initial results were showing like 70% effectiveness, so it's not as good as the Pfizer one, but like they can get it up to 90. What I heard, and this is kind of a weird thing, apparently if you do 1 full dose as your initial, and then another full dose about 30 days later as your booster, it's actually less effective than doing a half dose for the first one and then a full dose for the booster. Like, they actually found it was more effective doing it that way. And it is just, like, that is such a weird thing, because, like, it's completely unexpected. Like, why would it work better having less? Doesn't make a lot of sense, but, you know.
That's strange.
Indeed. I'm sure they're working to figure that out.
And was that like big enough numbers that that's unlikely to just be noise in the data?
So my understanding is this was during the initial phase 2 trials. I don't think they have the data from the phase 3 just because that's the one I'm in. But of course, all of this data is being released as soon as it's received. I think the phase 3 for this vaccine is supposed to go to 40,000 people. I'm not sure if they've hit that number yet. So yeah.
Yeah, you know, I haven't seen that much information, or I haven't read that much information about how they are prioritizing it. For some reason, I read a very detailed account of how they're prioritizing vaccine in the UK. I don't know why that's information that's in my head, but not in the US. Other than that, people are. Yeah, I saw Ilhan Omar on my timeline. She's not my representative, but she is in Minnesota, just down in the cities. Is refusing to take it because there's no reason to prioritize politicians if they don't land in the age group that's already being prioritized, right?
I don't know if you saw my face when you said that.
You had me worried for a second.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay. She's actually okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
She's refusing for a good reason.
Yes.
Yes. Because yeah, because I mean, isn't it just rich to watch these COVID denying politicians get the vaccine, you know, at the same time as the very most important frontline workers? It's like, really? And now you're gonna take your photo op and just love getting the vaccine when you've been attending maskless rallies?
Yeah, that's one of the things that up here we have 2 sides of the COVID vaccine conspiracy. On one side, we have a bunch of people who say Justin Trudeau has to take the COVID vaccine first before I'll take it and trust it. And on the other hand, you have people saying, oh, watch this. Justin Trudeau is going to take the vaccine first because him and all his buddies are going to get it. And it's all corrupt bullshit. So
yeah.
You got it coming and going.
This is only slightly related in that it's also a conspiracy theory, but did you see the new Q? The new Q conspiracy is that Amy Coney Barrett is actually Joe Biden's daughter that died in the car crash.
Oh my God.
Because
really?
they're both Catholic and because she didn't vote for Trump in the Supreme Court cases for the election. So she's actually like, it's like a inside plant situation from the car accident 40.
That's amazing.
Dear God,
so
I like, you don't think these things can get worse, and then they get worse, and you're just like, how? Like, that is the most absurd asinine thing I think I have ever heard.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I've heard a lot of explanations from flat earthers.
It's pretty great, isn't it?
Things didn't go our way, so
great, certainly
obviously
one word for it, yeah. Obviously, the justice that Trump himself most recently nominated is now working against Trump on purpose because Joe Biden daughter? What?
Yep. Secret, daughter, never really died, been planning it for 40 some years.
You know, it's not a terrible stretch for some of these people, actually. Like, I was listening to, I don't know if it was Knowledge Fight or QAnon Anonymous, but they played a clip, and the person speaking was talking about Joe Biden as like, he's actually not, he's a replicant of some kind. And he's actually an alien cloned to look like Joe Biden. And so he's not really Joe Biden. And
okay, so my first question is, when did this happen? Has he always been a replicant, or did that happen sometime after he was elected to the Senate?
Yeah, no, I don't recall hearing when the date was, but
yeah, I'm like, so if he's a replicant and he's just designed to look like Joe Biden, like, how long has he been in place? I feel like that's a very important question here.
That's how they explain all the gaffes, how he says the wrong thing, how he stutters. This is because he's not a human. So
hasn't he been stuttering his whole life? I mean, So was he a replicant?
It could just be the fact that the man's a septuagenarian.
Yeah. Or he could just be a person who makes mistakes and had a stutter his whole life. But, replicants also an option.
Yeah, at least there's really nothing supernatural that I know of. I mean, I didn't read very much about the Amy Coney Barrett Biden daughter conspiracy, so like there may be something supernatural snuck in there, but technically speaking from the outside, it does not require aliens or magic.
She's almost certainly a replicant with the soul of Joe Biden's daughter possessing it.
Yeah. Yep, that totally makes sense. It checks out, folks.
Yeah.
Checks out and into the mental asylum.
The great thing about all this conspiracy stuff is that it doesn't have to have anything to do with anything. You could just make up the most outlandish shit off the top of your head, and it's right because you believe it is. It must feel amazing to know this much.
Yeah.
The moon landings never happened because the moon is a lie.
Well, yeah, it's made of cheese. Have you ever?
The internet is also currently afire with this article about a journalist who left her husband for Martin Shkreli while Martin Shkreli was going to prison, which is fun and an exercise in people. It just made me think of that because at the end of the article, someone on Twitter said, yeah, this woman definitely would have ended up in a cult if she had not fallen for him. So, yeah. Spoiler alert, by the end of the article, he has dumped her from jail, but she thinks they're still together.
Oh.
Yeah. That's sad.
It is. It's very weird. She described their relationship and her being manipulated by him as boiling herself alive in the bathtub slowly, and said that she thinks about 1% of the things he says are true, which is amazing. Direct quote.
Which is amazing.
Extremely healthy, normal relationship there.
Yes. I don't even know how to respond to that. Like,
hopefully our listeners remember who Martin Shkreli is. He's the weird stock market bro who bought the pharmaceutical things and also the Wu-Tang Clan album, which she has listened to. She has a picture to prove it.
Yeah.
Also, that proved he doesn't hate women.
Pharma bro who massively raised the price of some life-saving drug that I can't remember what it was now.
Yeah. Known sociopath, Martin Shkreli, yes.
Yep.
Who she said she knew was manipulating her the whole time. She also, at one point in the article, held up a photo of him and said, "Doesn't he look human here?"
I'm like, was he not supposed to look human at some point?
Going back to our alien conspiracy theories, perhaps.
Yeah,
I guess.
Ted Cruz for human president.
Yep. But Martin Shkreli did say in the article he'll probably be starting a podcast when he gets out. So we'll have some competition.
Yeah.
In 5 years.
Yeah. Podcasts are just all the rage.
Or he might run for political office. That was his other option. So Also very sadly, Martin Shkreli could probably win like a congressional seat somewhere.
Oh yeah, I mean, hey, if the QAnon lady who won in Florida can get in, anyone can.
Is that Laura Loomer? Is that the one? Or is there other QAnon people? Well, I think there's others.
The name
actually
sounds familiar, but I think it was Laura Loomer that I specifically heard of. I'm sure there are other QAnon supporters who got elected, but she was the big name one.
Well, Laura Loomer is Jewish, so most of the other QAnon people hate her. And she also, at one point, handcuffed herself to, like, the Twitter offices and tried to pull her own PR stunt that only she herself covered after she got banned from Twitter, I think.
Yes, that's Laura Loomer. This Marjorie Taylor Greene is the Republican.
No. Yeah, I was going to say Loomer actually lost.
Oh, that's good. That's good, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, well, she lost to Democrat Louis Frankel. Okay. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all bad though, right? Like nothing's good. I think
I'm just remembering when Laura Loomer won her primary, which people were pretty concerned about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think. But, yeah, turns out getting banned from Twitter sort of reduces your reach, I guess. Deplatforming works.
Yes.
Sorry, I've sent you both down rabbit holes now, I feel like.
Yeah, we got to find something. I actually did have a story that I caught early on after our last recording about Rebecca Jones in Florida, and the Florida police raided her house.
Oh yeah, I saw this.
She was a scientist who wouldn't tweak the database to make it look like there were fewer COVID cases in Florida.
Yeah, she worked for the Florida Department of Health.
Yeah. And so they raided her house, pointed guns at her husband and children. And despite it being on video, they claimed that they did not do this. But, that's just the way things go, I guess.
Well, and they said it was like on suspicion of her like hacking some email account. And that never turned out to be true, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess there wasn't any reason to think there was a hack because 100 people had access to that email account and clearly one of them had sent an email from it. Something like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they took all her computers and stuff because she was still publishing COVID information.
Right. So that's not suspicious at all. That's not.
So I looked it up, and there actually were two QAnoners who did actually get elected. Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia and Lauren Boebert of Colorado.
Lauren Boebert. Oh. That's probably where the Laura Loomer.
Maybe.
Possibly, yeah. Although she didn't get much pre-election publicity from what I'm seeing here. But yeah, and another one that I didn't realize was a QAnon. So in Massachusetts, both times I've been here for elections for Elizabeth Warren. Actually,
yeah.
No, this time it was Ed Markey. That's right. But last time it was Elizabeth Warren, which I think was 4 years ago. There has been a Republican candidate named Shiva Ayyadurai, who has always lost the GOP primary, but then ends up running on, a separate ticket. In this case, launched a write-in campaign. And I remember when he was trying to run for Warren's Senate seat, he was putting up ads, or rather I saw ads for him that said something like "vote for a real Indian" because he's from India, and playing on the whole, Elizabeth Warren claims native heritage thing. So I always thought that was interesting, and I saw a couple of signs for him this election, but I had no idea he was a QAnon congressional candidate. So that's fun. Luckily, he was he wouldn't. I doubt he got more than a couple thousand votes in the whole state.
Well, if anything, he probably hurt the Republican candidate by running.
Not that from what I could tell, the Republican candidate needed much harming, because it looked to be a pretty heavy stomp out by Markey. who is a very well-liked senator in Massachusetts.
Yeah, I don't think he makes headlines outside of Massachusetts very much. I mean, I've heard the name, but...
Yeah, he's actually backed a couple of pretty important bits of legislation. He was, I think, one of the first after, like, Bernie Sanders to support the Green New Deal.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I guess I've heard him mentioned as kind of part of the Sanders coalition on some of these stimulus talks, actually.
Yeah,
okay.
So he's a pretty progressive senator. So Oh yeah, it was not even a contest. Markey won in an exact 2/3. So he got exactly 2/3 of the vote to the Republicans 1/3, like 66.7% to 33.3%. That is surprisingly accurate.
Wow.
And then we have the Georgia races, which are coming in a month or so. I think they're scheduled for early January.
Early January, like January 5th or something. I think.
Yeah.
Not very long. Like 2 weeks. That's only 2 weeks away.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I'm so nervous about that.
Yeah, we will see. It's interesting because, like, one of them was, they both resulted from top two runoffs, but one of them was a lot closer than the other. There was, the race was, for one of them was David Perdue, Republican, John Ossoff, Democrat, and Shane Hazel, Libertarian. But the Libertarian candidate only got 2.3% of the vote. And so because neither candidate got a majority, it went to a top two runoff, which I thought was interesting.
So now you can't vote for anyone except those two.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay.
And in the other seat, there were a lot more people who ran. Ralph Warnock, Deborah Jackson, Matt Lieberman, and Tamara Johnson-Shealy were all Democrats. Kelly Loeffler and Doug Collins were both Republicans. But it was Ralph Warnock and Kelly Loeffler who got the most votes, or rather, they were the top two vote getters. And so in this next election, they will be the only two candidates on the ballot for that seat. It is kind of weird to see, to see two Senate seats from the same state up at once, because it's actually, like, by design that they're supposed to be in three different classes, since they're elected for 6-year terms, but you have an election every 2 years. So every 2 years, you have approximately a third of the Senate up for a vote. You almost never see it being two senators from the same state.
And Kelly Loeffler's the one who did all the nice insider trading and whose husband owns the NASDAQ. I think it's the NASDAQ, right? But yes.
I don't know, but yeah,
she had all these
me.
private briefings. I mean, they're just like beyond rich, right? I mean, they are, billionaire level. And she attended some private hearings and then immediately bought stock in a bunch of work from home providers, like Citrix and some other platforms like that, and immediately made like $80 million within the first month of the pandemic from that. But It was just coincidence that she decided, and she sold, I think, stock in some other stuff that they knew would get hit hard. But just coincidence, I'm sure, that she left that private meeting and did that. Nothing at all. Nothing at all suspicious about that,
sure,
right?
That's all it is.
Nothing is untoward at all.
Not a thing.
Just gross.
I mean, yeah, you're not wrong there.
Rich people suck so bad.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, I can talk about my thing that I researched, which I found via a random YouTube recommendation, which we can put in the show notes. But I was talking to some friends of mine about, have you heard of, like, psychic martial arts? So the ones where there's martial arts, but then there's psychic martial arts, right? Where they claim to be able to, like, knock you out just by
a single
touch, or even from far away.
Yeah, like they punch, but they stop just short, and yet you still, like, the person on the other end still ends up, like, falling back or something.
Yeah, and sometimes they're even, like,
energy.
10 feet away. Like, they'll be... Yeah, so they do this, and then they put these YouTube videos up, and they're like, defeated 100 warriors. And then they try to do it with someone who's not, like, being trained in their studio, and surprise, It doesn't work at all. So people like this, like even like James Randi back 30 years ago has had run-ins with. And so we were looking around at some of that stuff and we ran across this YouTube video. And it was 30 minutes long, but the whole 30 minutes was actually very engaging because it started out talking about that and it ended up talking about this man named Xu Xiaodong in China. I don't know if either of you have heard of him.
No.
So martial arts, is particular, well, there are a lot of martial arts in East Asia, and in particular, China and the Chinese Communist government, as a way to instill national pride, has begun really supporting and promoting martial arts, especially like Tai Chi. But I know nothing about martial arts. I just want to put that out there. And honestly, some of this was new information to me. But like, apparently Tai Chi in particular, but even martial arts in general, is a lot of learning poses and moves that you then use against other people that also know those poses and moves and rules, but would not necessarily accomplish anything in a real fight with someone who wasn't specifically using the same martial art as you. Does that make sense? Like,
Yep.
karate may not necessarily be that helpful in a fight against a random person on the street, okay?
Yeah.
And in particular, Tai Chi is it's almost a little bit more like yoga. It's very much about breathing and memorizing certain movements and stuff. But as part of this sort of Chinese cultural revival, national pride thing, the Chinese government and just the media in China elevated a lot of these martial arts masters as like these incredible masters of fighting who could take on anyone, anywhere, anytime. And this man, Xu Xiaodong, was a radio DJ in China who also used to have an MMA career. And he wasn't even like, I think he was like a decent MMA guy. He wasn't like a world famous, amazing MMA guy. And at this point, he was 40. So he was like, he still worked at an MMA gym, like on the side, coaching people, but he was like not in fighting shape. Like he knew that he was not nearly as good as he was when he was in MMA shape. And he knew when he was in MMA shape, he was not like a top 10 MMA fighter, right? And he was like, guys, this is bullshit. Like, Tai Chi is not for fight. Like, you can't fight someone with Tai Chi. Like, you shouldn't teach someone Tai Chi and tell them it's a self-defense technique, right?
Yeah.
So he started challenging these masters and has absolutely devastated every single one of them in like 5 seconds. I mean, because it's not, and they keep fighting him. And
because psychic stuff isn't real.
Well, and these guys aren't, I got down the rabbit hole because of the psychic stuff, but like the Tai Chi and stuff isn't claiming to be psychic or whatever, but they are claiming that they're like masters who could defeat any man who comes against them, right? And he's like, it's not even fighting, guys. You're not even fighting. Like, what are you doing? This isn't fighting. You know, he's like, I love Tai Chi. I love Chinese cultural heritage. Just don't claim that it's things that it's not. Well, the sad part is because of the Chinese government having a big interest in this and China's social credit system, he has been completely ostracized from society and has basically had to go into hiding. One of his more recent fights about a year ago, he still competed in it, but they would only show it and they would only participate in it if he fought under the name Winter Melon, which was supposed to make fun of his appearance and call him fat, which he's not, but, and if he did it in clown makeup, it's not like what Americans would think of clown makeup as. It's like, it was like black and white face paint. It didn't mean anything to me, but apparently in China, it's very embarrassing, right? And he did it anyway. Okay. And then he completely he still trashed the guy. And then the referee called it a draw. For some reason, he like pulled him off the guy and called it a draw. But anyway, it took him 36 hours to get to the fight because his social credit score is so low, he's not allowed to use public transportation anymore. He's not allowed to buy property or rent property. He's not allowed to have a job. He got kicked out of the gym where he was coaching. He has been ordered to pay at least $60,000 to various Tai Chi masters for insulting them and insulting Chinese cultural heritage just by telling the truth. And there are still occasionally people who will fight him. And I don't know, I heard something about him thinking about having to flee to Australia because he literally, he can't even rent a house, you know? He's been banned from all Chinese social media. But it's just like, wow, it's crazy, you know? But good for him for standing up for it and continuing going, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's pretty, the truth matters, right? One would think. But it's a shame he's got to pay such a high price.
Yeah.
Well, it's amazing that people are so, like, thin-skinned that they can't just be like, Tai Chi is great for doing Tai Chi. It doesn't make you a kung fu master like the movies. Because those aren't real, guys. You know?
It's a movie. Yeah.
Like,
No,
why can't people love things without needing to, like, believe all these false things about them that are just so over the top?
It's a very good question. Like, they just... I imagine it's mostly to just try and get attention, because that's really what they're doing with this, is they're just looking for attention.
I guess. And they just need to, you know, they need to be able to say that Chinese martial arts are the most amazing form of fighting that's ever existed, even if it's not true, and literally just punching someone in the face works even better.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like I said, I mean, I don't know anything about martial arts or anything like that, but I mean, that's pretty much what these fights look like. Like, they kind of get in like a position and they're wearing their martial arts uniforms and he's in shorts and he just punches them a lot and they can't do anything about it.
And they go down and that's the end of it.
Right. Then that's the whole thing. That's the whole fight. And it's like, what are you even, you know, but I guess, you know, these people believe it because they go into it, you know?
Yeah,
but I just feel so bad for him.
They must actually believe, like you say, their own hype, I guess.
Right.
That's
Yeah, it looks like I was just like the most recent fight it looks like was just recently another Tai Chi master. Cuz it's been people of various martial arts disciplines, not just Tai Chi. I think Tai Chi is probably the one that's the least fight-like of some of them, you know, karate and some of those things have a bit more applicability to fighting, but yeah,
even still I've seen lots of I don't know if they're experts or whatever, but they're people who study fighting, and they have a lot of them have talked about various martial arts, saying that like most of this stuff, it looks really good. Like you said before, like it's about fighting people on the same plane as you. You're not in a street fight.
Right. It's not actually super useful. Like, there are maybe small parts of it that are, or like parts of being in a discipline where you fight people that are useful. But if your opponent isn't using karate, you're not necessarily going to be able to like murder them just because you know karate, you know, because they're just going to punch you. And training in karate doesn't like if you're training in karate just to be a karate black belt, that doesn't necessarily give you the skills that training in self-defense would give you, because, you know, countering karate is different than countering a dude who's trying to mug you, who doesn't practice karate. He's just going to punch you or point a gun at you, which is even less helpful. Your karate is even less helpful in that case. Yeah,
that's the one that I've heard is supposedly really good for like defending yourself out and about. Is now I'm drawing a blank. The Israeli
Krav Maga.
Yes, that's the one. Apparently, it's quite good.
I thought you were going to say that before you even mentioned Israeli, and I'm like, he's going to say Krav Maga.
Apparently, I don't know that much. I don't know enough about it to say one way or the other, but I've heard that this one is specifically designed to help you in like any kind of situation.
Well, I know that like it's a trope in in TV that like women go take Krav Maga for self-defense purposes. So, like, at the very least, it seems to have something of that reputation to it.
Well, I'm wondering if that maybe is somewhat developed out of the Israeli military culture, you know? That they would want something that's absolutely going to actually help you if your gun jams, right? Because they have such a heavily militarized, you know, culture with every citizen having to serve and everything. So that would make some sense. I mean, not that they couldn't also fall victim to a scenario in which it's not actually that useful, but they believe it is, I guess. That could totally still happen, but I can imagine why they would have a well-developed martial art that's still very useful in combat.
Yeah, and like you say, once something becomes a trope on TV or like a culturally dominant narrative, it becomes the thing that people believe anyway and that we all just hear. So
right. And then when you, like, just imagine how much worse some of that shit would be around here. Well, I guess some of it is, you know, literally being pushed by the government, right? But, you know, in China, the stranglehold they have over the media, I mean, imagine how hard it is to disprove some of that stuff or how embedded it must get when you have the whole, you know, government apparatus focused on making you think that this shit's amazing, right? Mm-hmm. It just, like, I just feel like, you know, that guy could be any one of us, you know, just hearing misinformation and not being able to shut his mouth about it, right? And it just so happens to be in a discipline where he can tell these people to put their money where their mouth is and fight him. And he's just like, I'm not even a good martial artist, guys. I'm not even good. What are you doing?
Yeah. We could all be ostracized just because we can't keep our mouths shut about bullshit.
Yes.
True.
If we pick the right kind of bullshit and get the right kind of attention for it, yeah. Yeah, but that social credit system, that's pretty scary, isn't it?
Oh, yes. It's absolutely terrifying. Like
it's a Black Mirror episode, right?
Yeah, it literally is. In fact, like, I'm trying to remember the name of it, but, like, there is a specific Black Mirror episode for this, and I remember the first time I watched the episode, it gave me hella anxiety because it was a situation where, like, she lost all of this social credit she'd built up over the course of months in the span of 24 hours because she had a couple of, like, bad like, someone gave her a crap rating for a taxi ride for no particular reason other than just to spite her, I guess, and that just led to this big snowball effect where it just kept getting worse and worse for her. It was pretty wild to see, but, like, that legitimately gave me anxiety because as someone with autism, like, something like that would honestly destroy me. I mess up in my, my coping, my masking once, and it just snowballs downhill.
Yeah.
Yep, totally. Yeah, I remember one of the first times I watched, like, a Facebook Live video, and it was like, I think it was like a government live stream or something, right? It was something that thousands of people were watching, and the way, like, when people like or heart it, like the hearts all go up in the air over the video, and I was like, I've seen that in a Black Mirror episode. Like, I'm positive I saw that in a Black Mirror episode. And I've only watched like 4 episodes of Black Mirror because it's so incredibly depressing that I can't handle it.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I think my husband's totally seen all of it without me, but I just, like, I watched a couple and then I was like, nope, don't have the emotional wherewithal for this level of depression. Sorry.
Yeah.
Everybody loves it, but
yeah,
I mean,
actually,
it's a good show, but yeah, it can be very, like, stressful and depressing to watch.
The that social credit episode, that was the very first episode of Black Mirror I ever watched, and I was like, okay, well, this is a shitty show. I can't watch this. Like, if this
That's
is how
fair,
they all are.
But then if you watch San Junipero, it's actually, like, that's the one, like, really nice, sweet episode of Black Mirror.
Yep.
And I think they finally realized, okay, we can't be all doom and gloom all the time. We need to give people at least some small, sense of, oh, hey, the future might not actually be complete shit after all.
Yeah, I think I watched the first 2. I mean, the first one being particularly traumatic. That's the one with the president being forced to rape a pig on television.
Yes.
Extremely traumatic. And then the second one was about like someone going on a reality show and then he threatens to kill himself. And then that's his bit. From then on, to make money, he just pretends to kill himself on television.
Yeah. So he was like, the whole story behind that one is like everyone is trapped in this system where like they have to pedal on these stationary bikes all day, and I guess like maybe that's like how their society produces energy, and then like they get credits for it, but then they have to spend those credits on food and like it's such a hyper monetized world to the point that even like the sleeping quarters you're in, the walls are all TV screens that are just like constant advertisements.
Oh my God. And can you imagine the overload? It would be like, I would die.
Yeah. And so like he gives this a friend of his the 10 million credits or whatever it is to get on this reality show, because like if the judges like your stuff, then they will, make you a TV personnel and get you out of this world of having to bike for your living every day. And like she fails miserably in that, and he's forced to watch her like do adult films because he doesn't have the money to like get past them.
Yes, she gets forced into sex work, and then he has to watch that in the ads or something. And
yeah, exactly. And so then he saves up 10 million himself just to go on the show, and like he thinks he's going to kill himself, but the judges are like so impressed with his with what they think is a performance that they give him his own show where that's what he does all the time. And it's an interesting commentary on how like capitalism will either like find a way to silence dissent, or it will monetize it.
They will commodify the... Yeah, I definitely thought about that recently, and I can't remember what made me think of it, but there was something somebody did that I was just like, oh, this is your bit, just like the suicide guy on Black Mirror. This is your bit now, and this is what you do. But I don't remember what it was. But I was like, yep, that's just like that episode. But I don't know, like I just can't. And I like sci-fi, and I don't mind dystopias, but like Black Mirror was just so dark, and I was just like, I can't do that to myself with my free time. Like, I just will be depressed for days. It's too much.
I like the fact that it's pretty much all social commentary and, like, showing how, with all of these potential technological advances, how, showing kind of the worst ways humanity might misuse them. And, like, because of that, I very much respect what they do. And, like, I enjoy the show. But like I said, it has caused me no small amount of anxiety myself watching it, and it's definitely something that is not for the faint of heart, as it were.
Yeah, I don't know how my husband can just like watch it and like enjoy it and have it not like bother him, but like that first episode bothered me for like a week. Like like it was awful, and I was like, why would anyone make that? Like why? Like some of the other ones, I understand the social commentary on them, but that one was just so bad for me that I was just like, I couldn't even see the lesson in it.
That first episode was almost retroactively prophetic, given what came out a couple of years later about David Cameron.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, not to really go into the details, but like when he was in college, he did some very questionable stuff with a pig skull.
Yeah. We had a fraternity on my campus get kicked out for not doing anything, but like telling their pledges that they were gonna have to do things. And they got in big trouble for that amount.
Yeah, I've never liked the Greek system, because like it's like the whole pledge system is essentially you have to humiliate yourself in front of a bunch of other people just to have a chance at like getting housing and like a place to stay during your college years that, you presumably don't have to pay as much for.
Yeah, I don't know how the rents were comparably, but I was in a sorority, but it wasn't, well, first of all, I don't think the sororities are as into the humiliation aspect of all of that as the fraternities are. But also, we didn't participate in like the normal Greek systems. Like it was very associated with the agriculture college. And it was sort of like everyone that I knew in agriculture was in one of 2 sororities or 3 fraternities on the agriculture end of campus. And I pretty much pledged right away because I really enjoy human interaction, but I am terrible at figuring it out.
Yeah, totally fair.
So, yeah. So literally it was like we would have a planned social activity once a week. And I was like, perfect. Because I will never like see a party in my life if someone isn't forced to invite me to one, as they are if I am in the sorority, which has a forced social activity every Thursday, right? So like...
there you go.
So for me, it was like I would have had a much worse college experience without it. But like I said, it was very much associated with the agriculture college. So it was a lot different probably than a regular sorority in a lot of aspects. We had folks that weren't in agriculture majors that had just happened to find themselves on the agriculture campus, because we also had some biology buildings on the agriculture campus, because the agriculture campus was like separate from the rest of the University of Minnesota. So, but we also had some biology buildings and stuff. So there were some folks that found themselves over there that way. But yeah, I was like so grateful to have it, because it's basically like having a family. Like if you get a flat tire, you can just call the house and someone will have to come save you. Whereas like I would never have had any friends close enough that I would have been able to call if I had a flat tire to come save me.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, there was no humiliation. There was a lot of memorizing weird songs, but they weren't like humiliating songs.
Okay.
There was just a lot of
I guess
song
not all of them
memorization.
are as terrible as the media has led me to believe. It's because pretty much all of my knowledge of it comes from like how they're portrayed in TV and movies.
Well, the ones in Germany do frickin' sword fights and like make you put scars on your face from their sword fights. So that's a thing.
Like if they didn't make you put scars on your face, sword fights sound badass.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the
like
thing that I know about.
Real swords? And, like...
I mean, Germany is where we get the long sword from, so,
I'm sure
Sounds
someone is
dangerous.
going to tell me that it's not technically the equivalent of a fraternity, but it's like very similar to a fraternity, okay? It's not technically a fraternity, but it's the same concept, and there's sword fights involved. And they've been in trouble for that sort of thing, because that's frowned upon these days, I guess.
I was going to say, are we sure sword fight here isn't a euphemism?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mostly heard about this from one of my professors when I was in the UK, and he was German, so.
Gotcha. Well, I think we have had a rather a long and nice discussion today. How about you guys?
So, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
The world is still awful, but this was a good chat.
Indeed. We can occasionally bring these little bits of fun and enjoyment to a world that is complete and utter shit.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And I think if more of us were like Xu Xiaodong, if more of us had that
yes.
dedication to the truth, maybe the world would be a little better place. But
That's
I
right.
can't do martial arts, so unfortunately that one's up to him.
And I think we're doing what we can. Trying to debunk bullshit wherever we have the ability to.
Indeed.
Absolutely.
You can find us at skeptarchy.com. You can follow us at skeptarchypod. Facebook.com/skeptarchy. And nobody emails us, but you can email us at skeptarchy@gmail.com.
Tell me everything I got wrong about the sword fighting German fraternities.
That's right.
Do
yes. Email us. Corrections. There you go. And that's right, hey?
Yes. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at AncomPsycom, and there's a new one that he won't have a display here for, but I recently started up a Twitch stream over at Anarchist Laboratory, so you can also find me over there.
Is that a Twitch? How do you do Twitch?
Twitch.tv/Anarchist Laboratory.
Twitch.tv/Anarchist Laboratory. All right. While I'm doing that.
That's me.
Also.
That's me on Facebook.
And I'm at Hardcore Skeptic or Corey Johnston on Facebook.
I'm trying to just put a lot of cute pet photos into the world on Facebook right now. So
there you go. That's
nice.
good.
You're doing a very good job.
I haven't been on Facebook in a couple of months because Facebook decided to ban me. So, yeah, that's fun.
Oh, no, that's right.
We miss you.
I mean, to be completely honest, I don't really miss Facebook as much as I thought I would. Like, there was that initial shock of not being able to log in and, like, not being able to get a hold of most people. But pretty much everyone I need to contact now has my Discord and or Twitter and or, you know, just messenger info, or like, you know, phone number to contact me. So I think
I could live without Facebook if I had Twitter. But being without either of them would be a lot of stress for me because it's the same problem as the sorority problem. If I have to DM people, that's terrifying. But if I can just like float a post into the world.
Well, that's honestly one of the reasons I got active on Twitch, because you can just find people who are doing things and you can engage with them in chat, and it was surprisingly fast to like get into the community on there. So I was very surprised by how quickly and like accepting that whole community is. It's very nice.
Good deal.
Is this right? Twitch.tv/Anarchist Laboratories?
Laboratory singular.
Laboratory singular. Oh, jeez. Okay. I'll edit that. There we go.
Although Anarchist Labs would have been a good, like, alternative name.
Fixed.
There you go. Very good. Very good.
All right,
folks. Well, y'all have a good night.
You too.
Everybody survive another 2 weeks.
Or try at least.
Do our best.
Drink your water, take your meds, get some sleep.
Wash your
through
hands.
Christmas and New Year's. It'll be 2021 when we meet next.
Oh, wow.
Hey,
this was the last stream of the year for us, wasn't it? I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
I'm afraid to be excited about 2020 being over because every time we've been excited for the last 4 years, the next one's been worse.
Yeah, it's very true. Like, it's just been steadily getting worse and worse. Like, I think there was I can't remember the name of the comic, but there was a web comic that was like 2016 and like, you know, it's not so bad. And then him from 2020 comes back in time is like, you have no idea. And then him again from 2024 telling the 2020 guy, you have no idea.
I know. I want to be excited that 2020 is about to be over, but I don't want to jinx it, even though jinx isn't real.
Yeah, fair.
All right.
All right. Clap in 3, 2, 1.
Wait.
Try again.
Clap on 1 or on 0?
Clap on 1. I've been going 3, 2,
okay.
Clap. So yeah.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Cool.
Okay.
Just because doing 3, 2, 1 clap, it still leaves it slightly unclear as to when exactly the clap's going to happen. So I feel like clapping on 1. I could do 3, 2, 1 now, but it doesn't really matter.
That works.
I recently binged Secular Soup to like catch up on it while I was doing some work projects, and they've started putting at the end of the episode Amy's instructions to everyone of exactly how to clap, and not clap, but I think they do something else, but it's on 0 and that confuses everyone. So I think I got in my own head about it because I listened to them go over that like 4 times.
Yeah, totally fair.
For my Saskatchewan politics show, we do 3, 2, 1, clap.
Right. Yeah, I have no idea.
No. Everybody does it different. So.
Yeah, that's right. As long as we all have a spike.
You can see that my headphones are taped together.
Oh no.
I wear them on the farm, so it's like I don't want nice ones.
Yeah, so, well, okay. So if you have a Target near you, their electronics section, and all the Targets near here I've been in have these $25 earbuds. They're like the true wireless kind, so you don't have the neck band. They fit in my ears really well. And like they have good audio quality, so I don't know.
I don't believe it. That thing will end up in cow shit. I know. I know you say it fits in your ears well, but I do not believe you.
I mean, I do find myself like having to kind of push them back in every once in a while, but
they need to be anchored. I have very specific requirements. They need to be anchored to one of these things.
Yeah,
and they need to have a push button retraction, not the pull retraction. Because the pull retraction, your cord will go to shit in like 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't tend to get the retractable ones. I get the ones that are just kind of hanging on with the loose.
No, I'll get those cotton things. I'm
okay.
very clumsy.
Fair enough. I mean, you're on a farm. Shit happens, so.
Not that this thing hasn't ended up in cow shit, but I just mean like it's a lot less likely and I could always find it again. Unlike a bud, I would be worried about.
Totally fair.
The staying power. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, then.
Who wants to do
so
the
now
intro?
that we all know my requirements and headsets and the detailed reasons therefore.
Indeed.
Yep.
All right. Well, I guess I can start out. Hello and welcome to Skeptarchy. This is Kevin, and with me I have Ellen Corey. Let's try that again. My God, you too.
I'm sorry, this is a Minnesotan and a Canadian. Neither of us can be bold.
Oh, okay. All right. I guess I'll just have to. I'll have to use my native Californian boldness.
Compared to Minnesotans and Canadians.
Yeah.
You two are basically the same breed. Come on.
Yeah.
All right.